Welcome, everybody, to El Paso Townsquare. I am Duke Keith, along with Traci Presley, licensed professional counselor and a good friend for many years. Traci, it is wonderful to speak with you again.
Hi, Duke. Always good to hear your voice.
Thank you. And in speaking about El Paso and how the Sun City specifically has responded during the coronavirus pandemic, this is something you deal with on the daily in your job. I mean, talk about some of the things that you do and where you're coming from in terms of how this crisis affects your job.
So I'm so glad you asked that question. From the mental health aspect of it, is definitely impacting people in so many different ways. We have people that when the corona came, we have a lot of people that get really, really nervous anyways with germs, and then this comes, and they're out of control. Germophobia is off the charts. So people like that, their depression and their anxiety goes up significantly. And then we have people that completely stay home. They sanitize everything. They don't want anything to do with going out. And they kind of isolated themselves maybe a little too much. And then in that isolation over the course of these few months, it's been exacerbating their depression, their anxiety. Then we have those people that are kind of, yeah, I'm dealing with it. I'm going out, and they're living life as normal as possible. Then we have the other parts that are maybe the younger crowd and the people who might be having a couple of drinks too many and going, I'm just going to go out and party, and I'm not going to let it affect me. I'm at a bar. I'm at a restaurant. And they're kind of being a little bit maybe less careful than they should be. So I see an entire spectrum of people from all of those aspects of life that maybe they've gone out, seen asymptomatic people, now they have corona, and how do they deal with it? Then I have the people who have been depressed before this happened. They come in and their depression levels are off the charts.
Yeah.
And then we have people who were not depressed before, but because they've stayed home and then they have become kind of isolated from friends and family and socially, and maybe lost their jobs and have circumstantial situations that are happening, they're coming in because now they're having depression and anxiety symptoms and just having trouble dealing with how to reconnect with everything when you can't physically connect with everything.
Yeah, it's just I know that there's a whole range of different things, and you kind of have to pick a path, I'm sure, as a licensed professional counselor, and deal with people on a case-by-case basis. But that's, I would imagine during a pandemic, I'm sure that there's a playbook for how you deal with these things to a point, but a lot of this is something you're just having to make up on the fly. And it's not making up. I'm sure you speak with other counselors, you have best practices, but you really have to take things on a person-by-person basis, don't you?
Always. Whenever we have patients, whenever we have clients, we take everybody anyways on a person-to-person basis and design their therapeutic route individualized to what they need. But we're very, very lucky. We're very blessed in this profession that we already have crisis intervention. I do particularly trauma recovery, trauma interventions. I do cognitive behavioral therapy, which is recognized in the community as one of the best therapies for mental health. There's other stuff that I do as a clinician that I already have in my tool belt, so to speak. That it doesn't matter what the crises really, you already are trained to help people with that.
Okay. So
we pick out of the tool belt that we already have what is going to work best with this person. I'm particularly trained in EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. That's a trauma-based therapeutic modality that I can use for people that have been traumatized, but I'm also finding it's helping with people that are traumatized from the pandemic itself.
Sure.
They look at the TV and they're like, my God, what is happening here? I don't know how to deal with all of this TV. Well, turn off your TV. There's some certain obvious things, but when they're really internalizing the fear, the panic, the anxiety, and the depression comes on, then we have the therapeutic techniques to utilize that's going to help them in their particular and individualized situation.
Well, it's good, and I know that the training is thorough and rigorous, and it is helpful to have folks who know what they're doing to deal with these issues. And I think for most of us, it's, nobody's ever dealt with anything like this. It's a once-in-a-century thing. You talk about...
But we never dealt with 9/11 before, but we
true.
had tons of responders go, and there's a crisis, even from El Paso, there was a crisis team that went to 9/11 to go do trauma work therapy. There's lots of studies on doing the immediate interventions that you do with people that are in a crisis, help in the long term for them not to get PTSD.
Yeah.
So whatever the crises, please know that there are trained people out there that can help you. Whether this is, I have a lot of people coming into my clinic, and they're like, I've never felt like this before, and I do a quick mental health examination on them, and I finish, and I go, okay, well, it looks like you have depression, 8 out of 10, which is pretty significant, statistically speaking, and your anxiety is 10 out of 10, and they had never heard of, oh, is that why I can't breathe? Oh, my heart's palpitating, and this is happening 3 times a day, and I'm shaking, and I'm sweating, and that's a panic attack. I never knew. So I have a lot of people that it's situational. Yes, it's situational because of the corona, but they didn't even know what depression and anxiety was.
Sure.
And they're coming to me going, I'm falling apart. I don't know what's happening. I say, don't worry. We got this. So please, I want people to know that there are individuals out there like myself and clinicians all over El Paso and places that you can go. There are people trained to help you through this crisis.
What about, and where specifically, if people need to reach out, how can they reach out to you? How can they reach out to other, places around El Paso? Where do you find this help?
So generally speaking, people can find help. They can go on the internet and type in psychotherapy, counseling. There are, if you absolutely need more, like if you're having a breakdown and suicidal thoughts, we do have that, by the way. I didn't mean to leave that population out. We have a lot of people that are getting suicidal ideations.
Wow.
And or death wishes. So the difference between the two are the death wishes are, I wish I wasn't living. I wish I don't wake up tomorrow. I can't handle this. I don't want to be alive right now. Versus, I wish I was dead. I want to kill myself. I am going to kill myself. I want to die. I want to get a gun and shoot. Anyways.
Yeah.
So those are the difference between both of those. And to some extent, people dealing with a crisis and saying, I don't want to wake up tomorrow. I don't want to have to get coronavirus and survive.
Yeah.
It's not that it's normal. It's just, it's a pattern of thought that you already know you're not going to ever kill yourself, but you're feeling that way.
Right.
And to some extent, that's normal. But if it becomes obsessive and you're ruminating about it and you're not feeling good about yourself and you're having anxiety and you're having depression and you're having death wishes.
Yeah.
And maybe you had some other issues in your past traumas that are now starting to come out because you're being traumatized because of the COVID. So now you've got those issues on top of it, and then you might need some help, and that's what we're here for. So if you get to the point where you are having suicidal ideations or you're having, you want to kill yourself or you want to kill somebody, you're having those thoughts and you're always thinking them and you feel out of control, you can go to El Paso Behavioral Health. That's a psychiatric hospital on Denver. You can go to the El Paso Psychiatric Center by Thomas, and I always get the name wrong of the hospital.
University.
Used to be Thomas and University of Wisconsin.
Right.
Okay.
That just shows you're a true El Pasoan. Yeah. You're a true El Pasoan, yes.
A true El Pasoan. And then you could also go to Emergence Health Network. It's a great resource as well for it. That's on Montana. They have a crisis center. They also have a crisis line that's helping people. You can find that all online. I apologize. I did not bring those numbers with me.
Sure. Well, everybody's got a Google. Everybody's got a Google.
Most everybody who doesn't have Google. If you want to contact me, I'm at 915-497-4300. We have a group of clinicians here at our practice, and we can also I refer out to the community all the time.
Okay. So a good starting point.
Always. I'm a huge advocate of referring. There's also El Paso, what's it called? It used to be Professional Counselors of El Paso. I think it's now called El Paso Counselors, and it's on Facebook. you can find them there, and they're also a good resource for referring. But I have a huge network of people. I have psychiatrists that I refer to, psychologists that I refer to, social workers that I refer to, medical doctors, because this is also a mind, body, spirit thing, Duke. This is not just affecting our mind. It's affecting our physical health as well. And the thing that I do at my practice is we address the resiliency, right? Okay, so we want to be resilient,
right.
Mentally resilient, physically resilient. The other component I always added is spiritually resilient. Physically resilient, there is an article by the Orthomolecular Medicine News Service, written by a group of orthomolecular doctors. Yeah, say that 5 times. Orthomolecular medicine. And their kind of take on this is, yeah, we're going to have a vaccine, but what is going to be in that vaccine? And we don't know how long the vaccine's going to take. And then when you do have the first trials, like I don't know about you, Duke, but my hand is not up to be the first person to try a vaccine. That's just me.
Sure.
Their recommendation is for us to be, if we do get the coronavirus, and this is what I tell my patients and my clients, look, if we're spiritually resilient, if we're mentally resilient, and we're physically resilient, the chances of survival are
exponentially better.
99.7%.
Okay.
You have a really good chance of survival. Okay, the next step is, how do we get there? All right? How do we get there? Well, we train you with cognitive behavioral therapies. We train you with all kinds of different therapies. We give you the tools for you to be mentally and emotionally resilient, stable, resilient as well. And then for the body part, the recommendation is, like, if you don't want to take the vaccine, I get that. But what you really ought to do is make sure I'm not a doctor, so I'm not giving out doctor's advice, but go see your doctor, check your blood work, make sure that your A1C levels those are the diabetic levels, and your cholesterol and all that stuff.
Right.
And add a regimen to, this is what's recommended by this orthomolecular group, add a regimen of vitamin supplements. Their recommendation is as follows: vitamin C, 3,000 milligrams daily in divided doses. That means 1,000 milligrams in the morning, 1,000 milligrams in the afternoon, 1,000 at night.
Okay.
Vitamin D, 2,000 to 5,000 IUDs a day. I go more with the 5,000 to 10,000. Again, ask your doctor. Vitamin D, 5,000 to 10,000 IUDs that's international units of vitamin D. The next one is zinc. Minimum 20 milligrams of zinc. I know you've heard a lot about zinc lately. The people in Washington have been talking. Zinc in conjunction with all the medicines that they're talking about taking with COVID, they're saying add zinc to it. Add zinc. So minimum 20 milligrams of the zinc daily. The next one is magnesium, 400 milligrams minimum of magnesium. Selenium, 100 micrograms of selenium. 100 micrograms of selenium. This is being recommended to add to what you're already doing for your physical health, which we want you to be walking at least 15 minutes, get your heart rate up. Why? Because our lungs are the ones that are affected by the coronavirus, right? So if we have strong lungs, we have resilient lungs, we have resiliency to coronavirus. So you want to get that heartbeat up for at least 15 minutes a day, at least 3 times a week, preferably 5 times a week. Some do 7 days a week. I have a lot of people that I work with that don't want to take medication for depression and anxiety, and studies have shown that physical health, high-impact physical health, helps with depression and anxiety. Not walking, not easy exercise. We're talking high-impact exercising that helps depression and anxiety, and the high impacts are doing the running kind of stuff, doing the lift weighting. I can't say that.
Weightlifting,
you know what I mean?
Yes.
Weightlifting kind of stuff. The
Yeah.
things that are a little bit harder on your body, I personally do cycling, and I try to go 3 times a week. And I don't mean cycling like I'm riding down the street. I'm going 17 miles an hour and I'm doing hills.
Sure.
So that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and I imagine it just anything that's going to allow you. I mean, if you did maybe like a boxing thing, you just take out your frustrations, I think, on the road, on a bike, running, doing that high impact stuff. That has to help. That has to help.
It does. What it's doing, because when we're having anxiety and depression, and oh gosh, I have such a good point to make about that. When we have anxiety and depression, that's the chemical. Those are the chemicals working through our body that's doing the fight or flight. You know, all this adrenaline and cortisol that's going through your body. That's the fight or flight mechanism that we're designed to have if our lives are threatened. But you're sitting at your home, you're getting anxiety, and this energy has nowhere to go. And when you're able to release that energy, when you're able to release that stress, that's what's helping the depression and the anxiety go somewhere with it. So it's not staying inside of your body. The other component I forgot to mention, obviously, is the spiritual component, which doesn't mean, you know, every person has a different definition of spirituality. It can range from, you know, growing up in different religions, disconnecting from your religion, not having God in your life. But when you have a spirituality that maybe is developing, that you just have a sense of a higher self. You have a higher energy, a higher vibration. That's okay too, because what we want to do with all of these aspects of yourself is we want to get you to, are you the better version of yourself right now? Has coronavirus made you a better version, or has it made you a worse version of yourself?
Right.
Have you ordered out a lot and started eating at home and not cooking healthily and drinking too much and gaining, I think I heard somebody call it the Corona 15, you know, instead of the Freshman 15. They're calling it the Corona 15. Have you gained the Corona 15? And not only are you eating so much and drinking, but you're also getting depressed.
Yeah.
And you're getting down, and you're not the best version of yourself. So I've seen a lot of people personally in their life, kind of, they weren't really the happiest person. Then this comes, and they have just sunken in like a snail into a shell, like, and then you're like, hello, where have you gone? Your personality is different. You don't go. They're just different, and they haven't thrived. There's no happiness. There's no joy to their life right now. They're not thriving, and it's causing this domino effect in their entire family system, where they see maybe one of the head of the household not doing well, and it's causing all the kids to kind of feed off of that negativity, and then nobody's doing well, and then their extended family and their friendships are also receiving kind of this negativity, and it domino affects people, and so we want to see, are you the better version of yourself right now? Like, this coronavirus has given us the opportunity to stop life, Duke. Like, how cool is, well, I'm sorry for people who have lost jobs, and we've experienced that in our own home. But it's hard for us to not find the gratefulness and the goodness in being able to stay at home. I've been able to be with my kids a lot more. I'm able to cook a lot more. And a lot of people have not been able to find that joy in this time, instead of saying, this is an opportunity for me to get better and kick ass and, get myself up to where I should be and where I've always wanted to be, and pick up that guitar and finally learn the guitar, go out and start walking. A lot of people have just kind of said, this is too powerful for me and I can't do it. And that's okay. That's okay too. We got you. There's help out there. It's about getting back to being resilient. If you're not at the state of resiliency, that's okay. It's always a new day. You can start over.
That is the best advice I think anyone could hear. And as always, you've got to step out, regardless of where you are. It's got to be an action that you take to make that phone call. Well, could you give your number once again, Traci?
Yeah. So at my practice, it's area code 915-497-4300.
4300. Okay. Very cool.
Gosh, I hope that's the right number. I think we recently changed it.
Now that would be something, Traci. That would really be something. Hello, this is Domino's. Oh, well, that's one way to deal with depression, isn't it?
Hey, Domino's is, that's soul food sometimes.
Yes, it is.
In
many ways. Help. Mercy.
But we can't keep coming back and doing our bad habits that we had from before and thinking things are just are going to get better in a vacuum, you know?
Yeah.
Because of Corona, we're actually having to take a good look at ourselves in the mirror and saying, you know, I really thought I was a lot healthier. I thought I was a lot better. I thought I was a lot stronger. And it turns out I'm not.
Yeah.
What can I do to better myself? Well, I have a 10-point system that will help you get on track to be the best version of yourself. And I have to change that number. The telephone number, scratch everything else that I said, is area code 915-444-8003.
Okay.
915-444-8003. And I apologize to my boss for giving out her cell phone.
Well, it's a good thing this is recorded because, yeah.
Just teasing. It's okay. It used to be our phone number. It's not a big deal. You can leave it.
Okay. That is hilarious.
You can totally leave it.
That is hilarious. 444-8003. That's Traci Presley, licensed professional counselor, and a good first step. And again, as Traci pointed out, it doesn't have to necessarily be with that practice. She is happy to refer out to other places around the Sun City. And I mean, the medical community I know has dealt with all sorts of things and has to deal with this. How I know you don't necessarily work in a hospital. I know you work with hospital folks and near clinicians and doctors all the time. How is the medical community dealing with coronavirus in El Paso?
So I'm very fortunate to have worked in a hospital, in a psychiatric hospital before, and I'm really fortunate to have a lot of close friends that are physicians, and they help keep the pulse of what's going on in the community with me, and I also like to have the pulse of what's going on, just because I need to know the latest of what's happening so I can relay that effectively to my clients and patients.
Sure.
And I have to tell you a funny story. I have a good friend of mine who's a doctor, and she happens to be originally from China.
Okay.
I have another good friend. I won't say their names.
Oh, it's okay.
But when they listen, they'll probably be like, oh my gosh, was I that bad? And I'm like, yeah, you were that bad. So she immediately in February, I want to say in late February, she literally locked her house down.
Okay.
She said, nobody comes in, nobody goes out. She had her kids go stay with her parents. And we're talking late February, March.
Okay.
Right? But again, she is from China, grew up in China, came to the United States. So she had already known this kind of, situation, I guess, that there's a reason why people in China already wear masks, right?
Well, the whole SARS thing a few years ago. Absolutely. I imagine that they're scarred.
And from childhood, this is a thing for them since childhood.
Yeah.
So her immediate reaction, Duke, was to lock down, man. She completely locked down. And she's a physician, and she works in emergency situations, so she had to be available for work.
Yeah.
So her best practice was to just go and take her kids to her parents' house.
Okay. Yeah.
And they did not have contact because her parents are older, obviously. They did not have any contact for like 2.5 months.
Goodness.
And then on the other spectrum, I had one of my really good friends, and she has a private practice in town, and she had to shut down her private practice. In other words, she can't see any patients, no money, right?
Oh, right.
She was kind of struggling, or she is kind of struggling, but in the beginning, she thought, oh, this is perfect. She calls me from Tucson. I think it was Tucson or Albuquerque, and she says, Traci, you have to come down. You won't believe all the hotels are closed. We have the whole place to ourselves.
Oh.
This was like in April.
Okay.
I'm like, aren't we supposed to not be going anywhere? She goes, but that's the thing. Everybody else is not going anywhere, so when we go anywhere, we're all by ourselves. Oh, my God.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a different range, even within the medical community. Hey!
Even within the medical community. So
the bar's open.
It's hilarious. I've got this one friend on one side and the other friend on one side, and then there's everything else in between. And that's the medical community.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, what I learned from that is to be somewhere in the middle.
That's probably
and
a
just
good
from
way
my own personality and from the own way that that I have set up my own practice because I can't teach what I don't practice. I can't walk the walk I can't talk the talk if I ain't walking the walk.
Uh-huh.
So
Right.
us personally, we have kind of a middle ground where I look at all of this stuff. And I rely on evidence-based studies to say, hey, what is efficacious, which means what is been studied to work that does work, and what can we do to prevent getting sick. But before I go into that, I do want to mention a couple of things that, since this is an informative program, just some theories that are out there just that people can look up on their own,
Okay.
and they can study these theories that are being tossed around. We don't know. It's very difficult to deal with statistics when we don't know the numbers.
Yeah.
And we don't exactly know the numbers because we don't know, Duke, what we're being said is accurate. I'm going to talk very generally. I know some towns that the coronavirus had presented itself in the beginning of February.
Okay.
And they were not reported until the end of February.
Wow.
The reasons that they did not report them, I don't know. I'm not at that level. I just know it wasn't. And this has also been reported to me by physicians across Texas, that it appeared in their town earlier than what was reported.
Okay.
So why? Well, we don't know why. What we know now, when we have the reports of the coronavirus, are they elevated numbers so that we can do we receive better funding from that? I don't know.
Wow.
Some people in the community, some people in the medical community seem to think that that's the case, that they are observing that the more they report of coronaviruses, the more funding they seem to be receiving, whether it's through insurance companies or through government.
Oh, well,
So
that is,
how do we
that would be
rely
terrible.
on
How do we
the
rely? Right. How is this going to be? I think to myself of the statisticians who, when this is all said and done, which is hopefully someday very soon, I think we can all agree on that. But when it's all said and done, sitting and plotting who's actually had it, who didn't have it, and making as accurate a count as you possibly can.
Well, I think that's going to be challenging.
That's challenging,
because we can't go and I don't know the polite word when you have to dig somebody up.
Oh yeah, exhume.
What is it called?
Exhumation.
Yes. Sorry.
That's okay.
I don't want to be disrespectful. It's not very easy to say, now that this is over, we can take all of these cases. We can't, because we can't go exhume people.
Sure.
And say, let's test them for sure. Did they actually die from a motorcycle accident like it appears, or did they actually die from coronavirus?
Wow.
Or I'm sorry, did they actually die from coronavirus like it says, or did they actually die from a motorcycle accident like their family said? We don't know what the accuracy. I've heard reports of people just being connected to their death as COVID when it really wasn't that, but because the funding is better. So, I even think statisticians are going to have a really hard time going back and reviewing, because when you don't have the correct data in front of you, you can't interpret it correctly.
Wow.
You cannot interpret it correctly.
Well, that is, you would hope that that kind of cynicism isn't prevalent, and certainly that the coronavirus cases are real enough, especially in the Rio Grande Valley, and I know that they're dealing with terrible numbers, as we are in El Paso, frankly. But you would hope that that's not the cynical thing that's going on. But
I have to say, the feedback I get from El Paso, we're doing a great job. I think once we got over that little hump of kind of reluctancy to wear masks, I think that existed for maybe a couple weeks max.
Uh-huh.
Overall, we hesitated, I think, initially just because our cultural personality, whatever race or color you are, the cultural personality of the ground El Paso exists on, let's put it that way.
Sure.
Cultural personality is to kind of go, no, I have my family. No, I'm not going to not see my family,
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know that. I mean, especially in multi-generational homes, of which there are many, including mine
Yeah.
here in El Paso. It's just hard to shut yourself off from your family, and especially during the holidays, Independence Day and so forth. So, yeah, you would hope that the numbers kind of go down. I know we hit that spike, and now that everybody's kind of on board with mask wearing, maybe
Now that they're
that'll stop being a political issue and just start being a health issue, like it should be.
Yeah, I think
Honestly,
it will be.
yeah.
I think El Paso's done really. I have to say, I'm really proud of our town. I love seeing the El Paso Strong everywhere. I think having that unfortunate event happen before the coronavirus might have been a blessing in disguise because we were already pulled together as a community.
Yes.
And when Corona happened, we kind of had to re-pull back together, but it wasn't from a further place. It was from a closer place.
Yeah, that is a great way to put it.
To find the positiveness in the unfortunate events of the shooting, I think that is a definite positive that we can pull from that event. But I also want to mention, I don't want to dismiss the fact that we have Juarez across the bridge. Yeah. And I think the only thing I was really disappointed about was when you were going to Juarez, because we have family members that go to Juarez every day to work. They were checking temperatures going into Juarez, and they had the bridge backed up for like 2-3 hours because they were checking everybody going in. But, Duke, they weren't checking people coming into the United States.
Wow.
So I think that's definitely an area that, as we do open, I would love to see changed because it was very frustrating. And when I would talk to people outside of the El Paso who don't understand the dynamics of having another country a stone's throw away, they could not believe that the Mexican government was making people at the bridge that came in get temperature tested. And we had nothing set up. We have nothing set up. At least
on our
that's
side,
what I know from my current information today, that we do not have procedures set up for people coming into the United States.
Well, that
was very distressing.
Yeah, that's a little astounding. But, wow, that is amazing. And hopefully, we continue to just kind of get past making issues of things that should just be settled science and, like, let's be healthy. Let's be safe. But the other thing...
Yeah, and like I said, it's just something I would like to say to change. It's not a criticism. It's just how do we all work better and healthier together so that we can have better outcomes for people that are at risk and people that are even healthy. We just want to keep people healthy. That's it.
Speaking of keeping people healthy and wearing masks, one of the other things that you do is you run Topographic Masks or help. I know that this is your husband's enterprise has been a part of... He's been a part of the El Paso clothing manufacturing scene for many, many years. And recently, you guys started up Topographic Masks. I wear mine, and my family wears theirs all the time. Talk about this project and kind of what got you guys started on it.
Well, it was one of those things that I was struggling where I was working with having a mask, and I had a patient that I had to help up. I guess this was in February. I had to help this patient up, and they had been to, a couple of different homeless shelters, and she was coughing all over me, and I wasn't wearing a mask. She wasn't wearing a mask.
Oh.
And I said, and like you said, my husband David Chowicki, he has been making sports clothing for 30 years for major name brand companies. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say the names. I don't see why not. But just in case I'm not allowed to, I'm not going to say the names.
Okay.
But let's just say you go to Sports Authority and you'll see what he does.
Okay.
You go to any major name brand sporting facility, you're going to see his clothing there.
Swooshes and stripes and all that fun stuff. Got it.
Yeah. He's amazing, and he's been doing this for 30 years. And when this event happened to me, I remember going to him that night and saying, you know what, David, you need to stop the production at your company, and you need to just frickin' make masks. I think I said it that nicely.
I would hope so, for David's sake.
What are you doing, dude? You need to stop what you're doing and make masks now. Literally do that. And he did. It was one of the first times he's listened to me. I'm just kidding. It was anyways, I called up a good friend of mine who's connected to the media, and I said, look, I know that you're working. All we wanted to get were some mask designs, because he makes amazing clothing. He just never made a mask before.
Sure.
And we wanted to have an idea. Anyways, we ended up getting a friend of ours a surgeon friend of ours to help us design the masks.
Outstanding.
And so that was what happened. We were on Channel 7 featured. We were the first company in El Paso to stop producing and make masks. So we were featured on Channel 7 for that. And they were very, very kind to us and grateful. And subsequently, they all ordered masks too, and their corporate office ordered masks. It was amazing.
Tremendous.
So what David does differently, and I'm gonna back up 2 steps. So
okay.
Masks, they're
what
good
makes
to wear.
an effective mask? Right.
It's recognized that we should be wearing masks, right? We can all agree, for the most part, people have recognized, and I'm talking people in China, this has been a thing for them for a long time.
Yes.
They're trying to break the chains of infection. Breaking chains of infection is obviously key to what we're trying to do to keep people healthy. And I think China and other places very similarly have recognized that mask wearing in public is a thing, right? There was a study done, however it was done in 2008, but it was a study nevertheless done that they wanted to find out with some accuracy how much reduction are they getting in contracting any kind of illnesses from it. And this study was done in a randomized controlled trial that using masks reduced contracting respiratory illnesses by 80%.
Wow.
Now, I'm sure that I've seen, as I was kind of looking through mask information, I have come across a lot of different information, and what they do not do in this randomized test trial is that they did not keep accurate care or accurate accounts of what kind of material they were using.
Oh, okay.
So you've got the N95, we've got talking in today's terms, we've got the N95, we've got the bandanas, we've got the paper masks, we've got so many different kind of masks. I've seen masks that look like underwear. I'm like, has that been washed 30 times already? What's happening?
Sure.
How's that going to help? So we just don't have that. We don't have those studies of what kind of material you're using. And I mention that, Duke, because it segues into what's important about the masks that David does, is we really looked at the inventory of material that we have. And we have a huge, huge inventory of all kinds of material from 30 years. And we also looked at the technology of the material. And the thing that David does, he works for these companies that produce hunting gear for hunters that go to the, forest, or they go wherever they go hunting, and they're in there for 3 days. And if you know anything about hunting, when you're hunting, you don't want the game to smell you, right? Because that's going to distract them from coming closer in shooting range, or if you're a bow and arrow, if you're archery. So the clothing that they produce has charcoal inside of it. It's carbon activated. Charcoal is equivalent to carbon activated. So the charcoal exists inside of the material. It needs to be activated with heat so that it is antimicrobial. It's antibacterial, because you're inside of this stuff. If you have these germs inside of you that produce the smell, when people smell, it's because there's bacteria.
Right.
When you have this protective clothing on, you're not allowing that bacteria to get out and emanate from you so that the animals can smell you.
Wow.
So that's the technology of the material. So David looked at what he had and he said, okay, I can order from this place. This is the technology we want to use. Why? It's got carbon in it. It's got charcoal in it that is carbon activated. Once you put it in the dryer for about 40 minutes, it activates that charcoal and stays activated for about 3 days. It is washable. It's reusable. It's adjustable. So we designed it with the surgeon friend of ours, and we made it so she said the one thing she wanted was to not have these loops go over your ears. She says,
Yeah.
I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Can't.
I was probably.
And I don't know about you, if you've worn a mask over your ears
I have.
lately.
It kind of pulls there for a little while, right? It's like wearing a tight pair of glasses, but it goes all the way around the ear. Yes.
And so she said, please don't do that. And then there's people who have different, if you know David, he's got a big nose, right? And then, and well, frankly, he's got a big chin too. So he needs to have a mask that is, if I put that mask on, I need to be able to adjust it so that it's not too loose on me, but it fits me just right. So we put these kind of like toggle things on there. We call them cord locks. And they're just little toggles that you push in, and it can adjust the top looser or tighter, and as well as the chin area, looser or tighter. And then we're using a nose piece that conforms to the nose. And then what we did differently, just because we have the ability to have designers, and we had people that were guinea pigs for us that tried them, so we came up with we recognized really quickly that there's a gapping issue at the chin. So we just put a piece of elastic there that covers up that gap. The nose is taken care of, and then we've got the adjustability of it to customize the fit for anybody. Now they come in small, medium, and then the next size is large and extra large, and then we have them in kid sizes.
That is outstanding. And again, it's Topographic Masks. Is there a website? Is there a phone number for that?
Yep, it's called, you can reach us at topographicmasks.com. I'm going to spell that just in case.
Sure.
So it's topographic, like the maps,
Right.
But I'm going to spell that for you. TOPOGRAPHIC. Masks, MAKS.
MASKS.
Oh, shoot, did I spell that wrong? MASKS.
There you go.
.com.
I got you back.
TOPOGRAPHIC. MASKS.com. Topographicmasks.com. There you go.
Outstanding. And you can order designs, you can order your logos. If you've got like a company logo or your favorite sports team, you can do all of that too, right? They're
Do anything.
personalizable.
And they're super, they're $12 a mask. We're not going, and if you buy more in quantity, we have some people that buy 5,000. We're supplying some school districts with some.
Outstanding.
The price goes down with quantity. But, it's not that expensive for this high quality of a mask to have with the carbon inside of it, and to have it adjustable and washable and reusable and all this stuff. For $12, it's well worth it. Now, we're a little bit spoiled. I know that because we always have, but I also have first-generation masks. But I keep one in the car.
Right.
In all the cars, and we rotate them. We make sure to wash them. And I wash them normal. Some people wash them by hand. I just wash them normal. They go in with the normal wash. They go in with the normal dryer. And then I grab them all and I redistribute them to where they need to be, so that I don't know if you've been in that situation where you're like, oh, I forgot my mask.
Right. There's one in the car. There's one here. There's one in the office. Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, we just make sure to have them everywhere. But I would do that anyways because it's that important. I got kicked out of a 7-Eleven the other day because I tried to put my shirt over my face. I just didn't have my mask, and the guy's like, it's mandatory to wear a mask. I'm like, there's nobody in the. He says, no, ma'am. But you know what? I was so happy to see that kind of enforcement.
Yes.
Because it reassured me that they're doing their due diligence to keep people safe. Yeah, I tried to pull a fast one just because I had to run in there real quick and grab some water, and I pulled a fast one using my shirt. Yes, I had a mask in the car. Yes, I would have been fine. I just was trying to pull a fast one. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But
you got caught.
I did. Shame on me. I learned a lesson. Lesson learned, and I'm more respectful now. It taught me a lesson to be like, Traci, why would you give yourself permission to even go out with a mask? You're not supposed to do that. Please don't do that. We're trying to take care of each other, and I know that you hear that wearing a mask shows you cares, but it really does. And when that happened to me that day, it taught me a little bit about my selfishness and why I was giving myself permission to not wear a mask, and it brought home to me the fact of how important it is. And if it wasn't for that guy who said, no, ma'am, I'm sorry, you need to wear a mask,
that's outstanding.
then I wouldn't also be such an advocate of saying, hey, get rid of our pride, get rid of our our self-entitlement, get rid of the fact that I just don't think it's manly enough or I don't think I need it. I'll tell you what, we have 12 different colors on our website. Now what I do is I color coordinate the masks with what I'm wearing.
There you go.
And I do. My favorite color, I have a lot of olive. For some reason, as it turns out, discovered something new about myself, that I have a lot of olive-colored clothing.
Huh.
We have an olive mask. So this behavior of mine was months ago. I just want to put that out there.
Sure. No,
It
that's
taught
fine.
me a lesson, and if we're going to have to wear masks, we might as well wear the right mask.
Sure.
And we might as well wear a nice mask.
Absolutely.
So,
and
I want
Topographic.
to add
Yes.
to people, there's a lot of people that are wearing masks that should be not worn for more than once or not more than a few hours. And I have some friends that work at the dermatology, Epiphany Dermatology, and one of the doctors there told me, he said, "Man, Traci, we are seeing so many people that are getting acne and outbreaks, and when you have a mask that you're able to wash and keep it clean, because we're breathing into the mask, it's a lot of bacteria and it's a lot of germs, right? And so that's staying on the mask and that's staying on our face. So that's one of the reasons why we're having these outbreaks. And as long as you have a good mask on you, you should be in that 80% protected group that I mentioned earlier.
Well, that's a good thing, and I know the carbon lining helps an awful lot. What I appreciated about the Topographic Masks is the drawstring in the back, because not only is it's a solid elastic drawstring, but you have as you pointed out, the little deals where you can tighten it or loosen it, as the case may be, so it's a comfortable fit. And yes, it doesn't loop around the ears, so that's also helpful. It is a high quality mask.
I think I gave you an extra large, right?
Yes, you did. And
then the
it
kids
works
and
wonderful.
the family got the smaller versions, right?
Correct. Yeah, we got the small mediums, and I got an extra large, and everything works great. And there are kid sizes for the smaller kids too. So
yeah, we have the kid sizes are ear loopy things only because we have we want to be safe and we don't want to have that cord string around the kids.
That's a good idea. Yes,
it's
for strangulation,
anti-strangulation purposes.
Yes, that makes perfect sense. Okay, so that's good for the kids and something to keep in mind. And again, it's topographicmasks.com. Traci, thank you so much for your time today. It's so informative. And once again, if you're go ahead.
Well, I'm super passionate about having people be resilient in times of crises. So, yes, we've got the mask. That's all great. That's just a tool to help people reassured. Also, mentally, I forgot to mention the fact that when you have a mask, when you're wearing a mask, a lot of times that just helps you feel better when you have to go back in public. And it also reminds people to not touch their faces. So whatever the mask, whichever the mask, I don't care. Don't touch your face.
Right.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. 20 seconds. I mean, that's drilled into us these days, but it's always good to have a reminder. And again, it's topographicmasks.com for the masks. But if you need to reach out for counseling or a referral to other counselors around El Paso, give Traci a call.
Or doctors or psychiatrists or psychologists.
Oh, everything. Whatever you need, especially if it starts from an emotional or mental aspect. Give Traci a call. Traci Presley, licensed professional counselor. It's 915-444-8003. And she'll send you where you need to go if it's not to her. Traci, thank you so much for your time today.
It's always such a pleasure connecting with you. You've been an amazing person that I've known for probably 20 years now. And for us to evolve like this and to continue a friendship, I really appreciate that from you too.
Thank you very much, Traci. We appreciate that as well.